Hi folks, Terry Lawton here from Wexford Skywatch. Just want to show you an article here from Irish Weather Online. This is up on their website. They also have a Facebook page. Now if you go onto their Facebook page and put up any posts about geoengineering or stratospheric aerosol injection, you will soon be attacked by the administrator and the chances are you will be blocked. I was blocked about 6 months ago from making any further posts on their page. I can't make any comments or anything anymore. So just to let you know that first. The article is by a guy called Fergal T, and it is entitled Contrails versus Chemtrails, the science that debunks the conspiracy. Now it's a pretty lengthy article, so in the interest of time I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It'll take hours to dissect the whole lot of it, but I just want to hit on some important points here that I want to make about the article. It's basically lies and deception from start to finish. You'll have to read it yourself. I'm going to put a link to the article in the description in this video. But it just starts off here saying that there are those who claim that the trails we see behind aircraft high in the sky are not the normal condensation of water vapour from the hot exhaust gases, but are in fact chemicals that are being deliberately sprayed upon us by government agencies for some dark and sinister reasons. When asked to prove their claims, however, their response is invariably either just a video blog or of someone else, or a blog of someone else making the same unsubstantiated claims, or a simple, well, why don't you prove that they're not chemtrails? Proof has been given time and time again, but okay, here it is one more time, using only scientific methods and no political mumbo-jumbo. Actually, it should not be for me or any reasonably minded person to reprove something that has always been a normal and scientifically accepted fact of life. Okay, he's saying that what we see in the skies every day now are just a normal accepted fact of life, okay, that we've always seen them. And look at this here, that's a normal scientific fact of life, okay. We've always seen skies like that, according to Fergal. Look through your old photos, you won't see anything like that pre-mid-1990s, but Fergal says that you would have always seen them, always a scientific fact. Wake up in the morning to a horror scene like that, that's always been a scientific fact. Never seen them before, but in the not too distant past, but we see them all the time now, of course. But Fergal says that we've always seen them. Okay, going back to the article here. If others come along and claim that it is something totally new and different, then it is actually up to them to provide evidence that proves beyond doubt that the original theory is wrong. The simple fact is that the evidence does not exist, but this does still not deter them from making these claims and denouncing anyone who tries to argue against them. Okay? I am not denying that geoengineering, still just a theoretical exercise, could be easy enough to try out, given the right modifications to an appropriate aircraft, or that cloud seeding experiments have been carried out. But these only consist of silver iodide crystals from burning flares and not actual dumping of material. What Fergal is saying there is that cloud seeding from aircraft does not exist, but cloud seeding only takes place from land-based facilities. Okay, I'm just going to show you a video here now of a cloud seeder in America. Okay, to the video.
This year marks the worst drought America's seen in decades, and it's showing no signs of letting up. Over half the country has been affected, with the brunt bearing down on the mid and southwest, especially Nebraska, Kansas, the Dakotas, and parts of the South. Just look at that. Well, in one hard-hit area of Texas, some people have grown tired of waiting for Mother Nature to bring relief and have decided to try and take matters into their own hands. Here's ABC's Juju Chang.
Craig Funky is flying me to the edge of a violent thunderstorm.
You see how nice and crisp the top of that cloud is up there?
Yeah. But the former commercial pilot isn't some adrenaline junkie courting danger. He's a cloud seeder, chasing this menacing storm to squeeze out extra rain for the drought-stricken farmland below.
As a pilot going through school, you're taught to avoid thunderstorms.
This is Craig's job, firing chemicals into the clouds in a controversial attempt to modify the weather. He's literally a rainmaker.
That dark, thick cloud over there has lots of moisture in it.
That's part of the cloud that was seeded. It actually looks heavy with rain.
Cloud seeding has been used around the world for decades. But it's now getting a closer look as farmers desperate for solutions endure their 4th month of record-shattering drought with no end in sight. It's actually the largest drought in half a century, responsible for rising food prices and record wildfires. It's even suspected to be a cause for the recent surge in cases of West Nile virus. So we came to South Texas to find out if cloud seeding can really maximize our most precious resource, or if it's just a romantic notion that doesn't hold water.
We can't manufacture a cloud. That is just absolute basic. We cannot make it rain if it was not going to rain to begin with.
Tommy Shearer is president of the Texas Weather Modification Association. He's quick to explain that he can only enhance the weather, not create it.
If you look at the cloud as a factory, we're inducing a lot of raw material into the factory so that the factory becomes more efficient.
And more productive.
Consequently more productive.
His team of pilots and meteorologists are constantly scanning the skies for the right clouds to seed.
Everybody's going to get some good rain.
After 10 bone-dry days, a promising cluster of thunderstorms is finally headed their way. Butch is today's standby pilot. He takes the first run. Up in the air, we get a bird's eye view of Butch's delicate dance.
He's just working the very edge of it.
And then Butch finds the cloud sweet spot.
Okay, he's fixing to light a flare. Okay.
Oh, I see the flare.
Yeah.
It looks like he's painting the sky.
The flares are shooting millions of silver iodide and calcium chloride particles into the cloud, where they collide with drops of water and ice and produce even more moisture. Then, usually within 20 minutes...
So what is this white smoky stuff over here?
That's rain.
Oh, that's rain.
Yeah, that's rain. All this is rain out here.
Okay, so cloud seeding from aircraft doesn't exist according to Fergal, even though it's as old as aviation itself. Got a patent here going back to 1927, and it's entitled Process of Producing Smoke Clouds from Moving Aircraft. But Fergal doesn't want to talk about government patents like this, or government white papers like Aurora Flight Science, which is a cost-benefit analysis basically on retrofitting out aircrafts and fitting them out with spray equipment. Just look through the introduction here. What is geoengineering? Introduction to this study. Chemistry considerations affecting dispersal. Concepts of operations. Just moving further down here, just look through it yourself there. Modifications to existing aircrafts, new aircraft assumptions, and this just goes on and on. You'll have to look at it yourself. It just takes hours to go through the whole thing, but it's just such a lengthy document that was written out by the Department of Defense back in the 90s. And here's another one called Owning the Weather by 2025, and this is written out by the US military, again the Department of Defense, and it's entitled, well, Owning the Weather. Basically by 2025 their desire is to own the weather and control it and own it by 2025. Why would we want to mess with the weather, and what do we mean by weather modification? Okay, and moving further down here, okay, current technologies that will mature over the next 30 years will offer anyone who has the necessary resources the ability to modify weather patterns and their corresponding effects, at least on the local scale. Current demographic, economic and environmental trends will create global stresses that provide the impetus necessary for many countries or groups to turn this modification ability into capability. Okay. I'm going to put links to these white papers into the video description here as well, so you can check them out for yourself. But you see, this is the whole thing about debunkers like Fergal. They just want to spend all day talking about, is it chemtrails, is it contrails, and they want to get us stuck in this little circular argument, you know, where we just never get anywhere and we're not looking at any facts. We're just looking at just, oh, is it chemtrails, is it contrails? See, he doesn't want to talk about things like this, or he doesn't want to talk about weather modification companies that you can call and get weather on order. Look at, there's a Texas Weather Modification Company. You can get rain the next day. Here's another one here. Justclouds.com. You see, this is what's going on in the real world, you know, and guys like Fergal just don't want us to talk about it or know about it. And where do we go here? Look at here as well. Here's a report, and the fifth assessment report by the International Panel on Climate Change. And down here in this paragraph, their statement was back in 2013 that if SRM, solar radiation management, were terminated for any reason, there is high confidence that global surface temperatures would rise very rapidly to values consistent with the greenhouse gas forcing. And I'm going to show you another one here. Okay, this is from the World Meteorological Organization, and it's entitled Report from Expert Team on Weather Modification Research for 2012-2013. Okay, on page 2 of this, there's a list of the current catalogue of countries active in weather modification. Okay, there's 42 countries there. Okay, this is listed out by the United Nations. No, hang on. World Meteorological Organization. They're your bosses. Fergal, you should know this. Get up to speed there, buddy, and start reporting on this stuff. Okay, look at Ireland is not in there, but we can see it every day from our everyday observations that weather modification is clearly taking place in the skies of Ireland. Okay, going back to the article then. Okay, I'm just moving down here a bit in the article here now, down to conspiracy claim number 1. Contrails only last for seconds, but these ones lasted for hours. Therefore, they must be chemtrails. Actual reason. Contrails can last from seconds to hours, depending on the relative humidity at cruising altitudes. If it is above around 70%, then the contrails can last for hours. Well, that's false. Okay, a contrail can only form if the humidity is above 70%, and it can only form if the aircraft is flying over 22,000 feet, and there's many different factors come into play. You got to have temperature below minus 50 as well for a contrail to form. Now, to have all these conditions, it's very rare to have these conditions, so actual real contrails are a very rare occurrence. But Fergal here is saying that they can last for hours depending on the humidity after 70%. Okay, so that's not true. A condensation trail will only last for 10 to 20 seconds ever. It's all they ever did last for. All a contrail is the hot vapor coming from the hot engine exhaust, hitting the freezing cold temperatures, turns into ice crystals, and as the airplane moves on in the sky, the ice crystals return back to ambient temperature as the heat source leaves it. 10-20 seconds usually, that's all. But it's just a scientific impossibility that condensation can cause the likes of this. Condensation can't expand out to hundreds of times its mass like that without chemical assistance. It's just a scientific fact. Okay? Now you see, as I said, Fergal wants us all day debating about whether it's chemtrails, contrails, and all this, and just saying, oh, it's only condensation. Okay? Well, look at this photograph here. That's case closed for me. What's going on here, Fergal? Oh, obviously you're going to say it's Photoshop, but look at what's going on here. Are the 3 engines here packed up? Is this the only one going? I think not. Okay, there's obviously a spray jet here there that's been left on accidentally. And just going to go to a video here of a plane spraying, just in case you think that's Photoshop, Fergal. I'm going to show you some nozzles now. You were asking about do we see nozzles when we're flying in planes these days? You were asking that in the article. Well, here you go. Here's your answer. Looks like a nozzle to me. Does that look like a jet engine to you, Fergal? Look at that. Materials bellowing out there. billowing out. Go on to another video here. Look at that. That's clearly not coming from a jet engine. That is coming from a nozzle built into the wingtip. Okay. Another one there. And another one there. Okay, moving further down the article here now, down to conspiracy claim number 4. I never saw this many contrails when I was a kid, so it must be chemtrails that I'm seeing now. Actual reason, says Fergal. There are more flights now than years ago. Engines are larger and produce cooler exhaust gases, which make it easier for contrails to form, as explained above. Analogy. A room full of kids is a hell of a lot louder than a room with just one kid. Okay, how stupid does this guy think people are? I mean, even if you want to believe that, folks, I'm living in Wexford here. We've always been under a busy airline. Has always been an awful lot of air traffic going over here. Still is. And you know, how do you explain this, Fergal? Okay, some mornings I'd wake up here, and there'd be planes going over as usual, but there'd be no trails whatsoever coming out of all of the planes flying over. Nothing, not a wisp. And then all of a sudden, all planes would start leaving trails. How do you explain that? Okay, do the atmospheric physics change? What happens there? Or what happens when you get... Look at this. I took this a while back. This was a Ryanair plane, 737, coming into Irish aerospace. Turned on here, turned off there. And 20 minutes later, that was it, 20 minutes later. Blocked out the sun completely. Okay? How do you explain that, Fergal? Or how would you explain this? A plane flying along, clearly leaving a big, long, thick, persistent trail. All of a sudden, nothing. Okay, but it's all due to more air traffic, of course, according to Fergal. Okay. Now, just moving further down there now, just after the analogy, the science, pretty much explained in the other points above. We should not, however, compare what we are seeing now to what we remember as kids. We all think that the summers were better back when we were young, but there are no data to back this up. So Fergal is telling me basically that all my memories as a child on the beach in the lovely summers that we used to have in the 70s, 80s and early 90s, all of those memories where we were on the beach every day for 4 months without having to even look at the weather forecast on any night. You just go down to the beach next day, always beautiful weather. Fergal is telling me that basically I was just imagining that. Okay, it never happened. Never happened. Okay? Our minds as kids were different to what they are now, having developed through all the stages of cognitive development. In the same way, we were most likely not to be counting contrails back then and wouldn't have probably noticed them in much case anyway. Imagine that. Wow. Wow. Well, anyhow, folks, there it is. That's pretty much the article there. There's a load of stuff in it. You need to read it for yourself, but I just wanted to hit on the important points of it there. And you just go down through the comments here and you look at here Fergal T replying to people who are just making comments and asking questions. He's very abusive. Okay? Is that the best you can come up with, Luke? That's just the same old opinions being spouted by new idiots. Okay? And it just goes on and on. There's just so many more comments like that. Just look through them yourself. He's just a very abusive guy. He's not open for any scientific debate. As he says here, he's going to lay out this article and lay out the facts here without only using sound scientific methods, but there's no sound scientific methods there whatsoever. I mean, look at this. Look at even this little photograph here. Little trail turned on and off. A contrail over Kildare. A contrail, okay? It's you got a helical spiral there, okay? But that's a normal contrail, okay? So you'd have to ask yourself the question: if these guys are just an online weather forecasting service, why would they have such a keen interest in writing a big lengthy article like this, putting so much work into this? Why would they have such a keen interest in persuading the public that all we're seeing is condensation trails in the sky? I mean, if it is only condensation, what's the big deal? Why did they put an article like this out? Well, I'll tell you why, folks, because these guys are an enemy info operation, okay, a disinfo operation, okay, with the sole purpose of confusing the general public and suppressing anyone that speaks out with the truth and facts, and basically just they're there to normalise all of this crazy, insane weather that we're seeing now. And you know, we need to wake up to who the enemy is here, folks. There's so many different enemy operations all around us. We turn on the television, you got RTE. I'm sure these guys are probably owned by RTE anyhow. All the same thing, all the different face masks on the same face, all New World Order owned. So basically we need to understand who our enemy is here, folks. Now I'd like to say to Fergal, I'd like to give you a chance to get your point across with me, to maybe have a debate. We can go on a radio show. I'll choose. I'll get an impartial radio show host, or you can choose one yourself, and I'll go on, and we can have a debate on your radio show of your choice, and stick it up online for educational purposes. So there's an opportunity for you there, Fergal. And folks, please as well, as I said, I can't put this video up onto Irish Weather Online's Facebook page, so please post this video there, okay? And so Fergal can see this. Okay, so yeah, just we can stop this crime together, folks, this horrendous crime with geoengineering, but we have to work together. As I said, we have to understand who the enemy is. So please get involved. Send this video to Facebook, your friends as well on Facebook, and Irish Weather Online, and expose these criminals.